So our modern internet and social media technology can make it harder for anyone to control their impulses and can facilitate and escalate problematic behavior, like watching pornography online. So we have normalized fetishistic behavior. Sadism is one of the behaviors that has become more common. Sadism has been of interest throughout time. It was coined in reference to the Marquis de Sade, who after his death in 1814 left behind a literary trove in print describing his own sexual proclivities, including sexual fantasies that involved criminality, blasphemy, and violence, including violent sexual behavior. Pain is the central interest of sadomasochism, either inflicting it or receiving it. Inflicting it are the doms, or the dominants, and receiving it are the subs or the submissives. In the 20th century, studies have shown that anywhere between 1/3 to 1/2 of people have psychological fantasies of fetishistic behavior. But having a psychological fantasy before the age of the internet did not normally turn into a person who acted out these fantasies. 50 Shades of Grey, a bondage dominant sadomasochist novel, BDSM novel, is now the second best-selling book of all time. Dr. Aiken tried to read it, but it contained so much torture and brutality she gave up after 50 pages. Decades ago, it was difficult to find non-print sources that fed these fantasies, and a non-print source is going to elevate these fantasies to a status of being more real psychologically to someone compared to a print source. Before the invention of VHS machines and then compact disc players a few decades ago, even viewing porn was relegated to watching videos, films in seedy, hard-to-find movie theaters. And most of these films did not contain BDSM themes. Nowadays, however, porn on the internet is ubiquitous, easy to access, and clubs and websites devoted to any number of fetishes are readily available and easy to find. So online, behaviors that used to be very, very unlikely and relegated to just psychological fantasies have now become normalized and are located outside of one's own mind. Because when we see them happen online, it makes them more real, and we think it's more normal, we think it's more acceptable to engage in these behaviors. So that's what it means by saying that these behaviors have become more normalized. When we see others engage in them, we think it's more normal. Problem is that there's a comorbidity between sadism and psychopathy, meaning the tendency to have both traits when we have just one of them. Most studies show that sadomasochistic practitioners tend to live normal, healthy lives and are psychologically well balanced. Dr. Akins is concerned, however, that the proliferation of information, videos, and contact online among people with fetishes can lead to the emergence of pathology among those who would otherwise avoid it or suppress it without contact with online sources. Online syndication occurs when people who have unusual or unique or unhealthy characteristics or tendencies, which would normally not be expressed in their own real life, because it would be unlikely they would find other people in real life with the same tendencies. And real life contacts would deter people from expressing their deviant fantasies or deviant psychological tendencies. But online, people feel less inhibited to express these tendencies or these fantasies. So they will form groups online, and this is what she means by online syndication. In cyberspace, geography doesn't necessarily matter. We can connect with unique other people, or those people who cross the boundary between safe and unsafe, between harmless and harmful. With the limited social cues we have access to online, we can make friends and contacts without the help of our real world social instincts for protection and psychological health. This could lead to a surge in deviant, criminal, and abnormal behavior. Online, people will do or say things they wouldn't normally do or say. Online, people can also fall into dubious social relationships and social connections, such as catfishing. Cyber socialization happens much more quickly online than it does in real life because we are hyper connected. We can connect with many more people in a shorter amount of time than we can in real life. The internet is like a catalog of desire begging people to flip through it, like browsing a menu of deviance and desire. Dr. Aiken talks about cyber exhibitionism, including sexting. Cyber exhibitionism is a variant of exhibitionistic disorder, which is a paraphilia characterized by the need to expose one's private parts, one's genitalia, to others, often strangers, as a way of gaining sexual excitement or gratification. One study showed that men who post a lot of edited selfies have higher levels of narcissism and psychopathy than men who don't. Narcissism is characterized by grandiose, attention-seeking, entitled, ego-promoting behaviors, while psychopathy is characterized by callous, impulsive, reckless, antisocial behaviors. The narcissist is interested in feeling more important, and the psychopath is interested in causing others to feel worse. An exhibitionist's behavior becomes a clinical disorder when it leads to distress, and this distress can be real-life distress, such as a loss of a job, career, family relationships, as did Anthony Weiner's online exhibitionism. Or the distress can be more internal or purely psychological, which can lead some people to engage in therapy in order to try to address the problem. Dr. Aiken talks about this online exhibitionism as cyber exhibitionism. Cyber exhibitionism involves a wider audience and more victims, normally. It also involves compromised judgment because of the anonymity, the 4As, lack of accountability, lack of authority, and the asynchronicity of our behaviors and interaction. Cyber exhibitionism can involve more compromised judgment, more risk-taking, and more heightened distress, more heightened consequences or psychological distress. Online, the attraction or pull of disinhibition, escalation of our behaviors, and impulsivity are enormously powerful and enormously destructive, and in most cases more permanent, given the fact that everything that happens online is digitally saved somewhere in the digiverse. The airdrop function on mobile social media, for example, can lead to receiving texts from others nearby, people you have no idea who they are, no idea of their identity. The internet has also accelerated online voyeurism, also known as scopophilia, viewing others who are naked or engaged in grooming or sexual activity.